95.3 WBCK now presents Coach's Corner, live from Lakeview Ford. For over 6 decades, this has been your number one source for all local sports information. Coach's Corner is proudly presented by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now, here's your host, Bill Broderick.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Broderick Enquirer, in the big chair once again on WBCK for another week of Coach's Corner. Coming to you live from downtown Battle Creek at Lakeview Ford on the Motor Mile. For more than 6 decades, Coach's Corner has been talking to the city high school coaches about the week in sports. We will be talking to each of the city hoop coaches about the week in hoops. But before we do that, here is the Lakeview Ford Coach's Corner scoreboard. We had a full schedule of games this week, with rivalry games taking center stage and some scoring milestones making headlines. On Tuesday, St. Phil defeated Athens in a game that saw senior Carter Diswick score his 998th career point, just a bucket away from 1,000. In other games on Tuesday, Arbor Creek beat Parma Western 58-55. Penfield stayed on top of the I-8 with a win over Jackson Northwest 65-58. Lakeview lost to Portage Northern, and Battle Creek Central lost to Portage Central. On Friday, in our game of the week, in the city rivalry contest, Battle Creek Central beat Lakeview 54-45, as the Bearcats have already surpassed their win total from a year ago. Also on Friday in the city, Marshall beat Harper Creek in I-8 rivalry game 60-41. Penfield lost to Adrian in non-conference action. And St. Phil toppled Calhoun Christian, as Carter Diswick did get his last bucket to get 1,000, and he has his 1,000 career points. So congrats for him. We will be back with our first Coach of the Morning after this commercial. This is Coach's Corner on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harris, owner of LifeSource. The benefits of quality water have never been more apparent. That is why Bay Area families know a LifeSource whole house water system is their essential home appliance. No regular maintenance and no worrying. We build, install, and stand behind every system. So start your new year right. Call our U.S. factory at 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com. LifeSource. Taste and feel the difference.
Warranty limitations apply.
WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, here with our first Coach of the Morning, Coach Robbie Hatton, the Penfield Panthers. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Bill.
Hey, I know you guys got a game this afternoon, and you can only be with us for a short time, but we're going to go over your week real quick here, and I appreciate you calling in. Penfield had a couple games. They started out with I-8 action earlier in the week, and you beat Jackson Northwest 65-58. You stayed undefeated in the league at that point. Talk about that. It's a pretty good feeling, still be in first place now that we're getting in the middle of January.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our goal is to win the league, and, you know, we got to take it a game at a time. So the Northwest game was a big one for us. You know, it felt like a very big a high school basketball game. The crowd was loud. You know, we got up pretty big, and then we kind of let them come back a little bit. So we had to dig deep at the end to get the win, and you know, it was good to see our kids, you know, not allowed Northwest to come all the way back. And then when it got down to a 4-point game, our kids, you know, battled in and locked in, and we were to close it out. So, you know, it's kind of a trend sometimes of us getting up big and letting teams come back. So we've got to fix that a little bit. But Northwest is a very good basketball team. They got some guys that can really get to the rack and shoot it well. So, you know, we didn't have a great defensive game, so we got to clean that up a little bit.
At that point, Jackson Northwest was in second place in the league, so that was an important win for Penfield. Johnny Lake came up big again for you, 29 points. He had 16 coming in the fourth quarter. Like you said, when Jackson Northwest was trying to make a comeback, he had 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Peyton Burlington continues to blossom for you, 17 points and 5 rebounds. Calvin Paysons had 8 points and 8 rebounds. Peyton Burlington's been a nice addition this year overall, and he's really come on strong lately. You want to talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Payday, he works on his game all the time. You know, he loves the game of basketball. You know, he plays AAU. You know, he's always in the gym. Just he's a great basketball player, great basketball mind. He's really taken on a lot of the scoring this year, and we knew we needed to find another scorer to help complement Johnny and Calvin. And Peyton's actually kind of became the point where, hey, listen, you have to focus on Peyton Merlington. You can't just focus on Johnny. You can't just focus on Calvin. If you're not going to focus on Peyton, he's gonna hurt you. And even if you do focus on him, he's such a good basketball player. He can score multiple ways. He just continues to grow and blossom, and really excited for his growth this year.
You guys were in action last night in non-conference play. It was your week off from the I-8, and you had Adrian, and you fell short against a really good Adrian team. It was 10-2. They beat Penfield 75-65. That ended your 7-game winning streak. Talk about that game a little bit and facing a real good team there.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian's a very good basketball team. I felt like, last night it was back and forth, and we took the lead in the third quarter, and next thing you know, they went on a big run, and we just couldn't get out of it. And then we went on a run at the end. I mean, we were down almost 20 points going into the fourth quarter, and we got it to within 8, and then, just it kind of stayed there. But, it was one of those things, our kids just, we had more size. We didn't play very physical last night. First half, I was really frustrated with our selfishness of not sharing the basketball, not communicating, and not making the right play. That was the biggest thing for us last night in the first half, and we couldn't really, get out of that after a while. And when we play together as a team, we can beat just about anybody in the state. But basketball is a team sport, and if we're going to play selfish, we could have some lack of success when we play that way. So, we just got to keep getting better every day. I tell our kids, and don't get me wrong, Adrian was a very good basketball team. They're very good. They're 10-2 for a reason. They can really shoot the ball, and they got a kid who can really score. And we just got to keep getting better defensively. And we got another chance today with Springport. So.
Yeah, before we let you go here, talk about that. You have a 2:30 game this afternoon. Anyone wants to watch some high school basketball this afternoon, head down to Penfield and play in Springport coming to town. And one of those Saturday games, you guys have played a couple of those this year, back-to-backs. And what do you know about Springport, and what do you like about playing back-to-back games?
Yeah, Springport, they're big. Their starting 5 all are probably over 6'3". All 5 kids dunk, and they dunk. I mean, I've seen a lot of tape, and they're probably getting 7-8 dunks a game. It's crazy. They're big, explosive, athletic. We're going to have our hands full, which is good. I love playing back-to-backs. It really challenges our kids. It requires them to focus. It requires them to take care of their bodies. And, with us, we want to get 22 games in. You got to play some back-to-backs every now and then. And, it's going to be a great day. We're doing our legacy game today, so we have special jerseys, kind of honor the past a little bit. And, we're trying to get as many community members there, old alumni, come swap stories, see the new, the current Panthers, and just, come back and be a part of it. So, should be a good game. We're excited to play Springport, really good basketball program, and, and just, keep playing some ball.
Sounds like a lot of fun, Coach. Good luck there in that Springport game, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you, Bill.
We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Hi, I'm Sherry Harris, owner of LifeSource. The benefits of quality water have never been more apparent. That is why Bay Area families know a LifeSource whole house water system is their essential home appliance. No regular maintenance and no worrying. We build, install, and stand behind every system. So start your new year right. Call our U.S. factory at 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com. LifeSource. Taste and feel the difference.
Warranty limitations apply.
95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back here on Coach's Corner with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Matt Bowling of the Harbor Creek Beavers. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Bill.
Harper Creek had a couple big games this week, both in Interstate 8 Conference play, and we'll start on Tuesday. They got a nice win over Parma Western, beating them 58-55. And that was kind of a crazy game you and I talked about. It was a game where you saw a full court shot go down against you and a half court shot go down against you, but the scoreboard said none of that really mattered because you guys came up with a victory.
Yeah, that was they had some crazy shots, especially that one, that full quarter to end the first quarter, and that actually put them up 9 at that point. So it was great to see how we responded from that, but it was a wild baseball chuck and banked it in, and what do? You just kind of just smirk about it and come back and let's go back to work. So,
well, I guess you hope someone got video of it so they could put it on ESPN, I suppose.
Yeah, we definitely have it on film.
Maybe that's what they want to do. So, the Harper Creek was down 9 after the first quarter, and you still trailed by halftime by 4. But you guys fought back in the second half, and how did you guys kind of turn things around in the second half?
Well, I thought we defended a lot better, and we rebounded much better in the second half. And what was good too is the guys never wavered too much with any of the adversity that hit. Every time we made a run, it seemed like they had an answer, but we kept battling and did a nice job handling that. And I was just pleased with how we battled and continued to compete, but our rebounding and defense, we held up a little bit more to one shot and out.
Maddox McCarty had another big game for you, 15 points to lead Harper Creek. Dylan Eversole had 14. Tegan Turnbull had 10. And trying to climb back in the Interstate 8 Conference, so that was an important win in terms of that. You came back and you played Friday night game last night, and you played your rival Marshall. Came up a little short. You lost to Marshall 60-41. Marshall's having a real good year. They're 9-2, and they got that win. Sounds like you had a little trouble early in that game, and Marshall kind of got away from you.
Well, we battled, and I think we had the lead at 8-7, and they went on a 7-0 run, and then we never really responded from that. They have some matchup issues that they create for us, and I'll say 2 of their guys, the Irwin kid had a nice game last night, and Lincoln Fuller, but I was really impressed with their jump shooting ability in the mid-range. They shoot a legitimate jump shot, not on the way up, not on the way down, but at the top, and they have some elevation and some athleticism, and with their size and their length, and their ability to shoot a jump shot like that, we just had a hard time matching up with that. And credit them, and they're solid.
Yeah, Clark Irwin, kind of a role player for them, but when he pops, he can be a difference maker. He had 20 points and 6 rebounds for Marshall last night. Matthew Wado had 17 points, 6 rebounds, and Lincoln Fuller had 10 points, 3 steals. Maddox McCarty had 9 points for you guys. And like you said, Marshall's a solid team. Harper Creek is going to be looking to bounce back from that game and move forward. What do you want to see from your team going forward in terms of coming off a game like that where it can be a rivalry game and it can be a little deflating?
We just have to keep playing. That's all we can do is show up, and it's a new day on Tuesday. Monday's a new day for practice, and just keep plugging away and try to make sure that we do what we can to convert some shots around the rim. And I thought they defended us too real well last night with their length. They had the Jackson kid, I think, did a real nice job on Dylan, and his length bothered us. And we can either hang our heads or we can just keep battling. Hopefully, we could keep battling.
Talk about what you have next week as hit into another week. Who do you got on the schedule there?
So let's see. Tuesday we're at Lakewood, and then Friday we're at Northwest. So start our next league cycle on Friday, and actually I think we might. I don't know how the whole league thing, but I know we were only one of the only teams that give Northwest a loss if they have 1 or 2. I'm not sure where they're at with that right now, but we played them very well, and hopefully we could do that again Friday. Yeah,
I think Northwest has that second loss to Penfield, so the guys in Penfield knocked them off. But the second time through the league play, that's always a benefit for coaches who are paying attention, and you're going to play some teams the second time, and you want to make something happen the second time because you have a little bit more knowledge. How important is that when you see a team the second time?
Well, it's always good, to have it. You got a little read and a little feel. But they had, everybody else has the same thing. So we have to. It's going to be a battle of execution and adjustments, and who can carry those over and do the best job doing that.
All right, Coach. We'll look forward to talking about those games next week when we get back together. I appreciate you coming down. Thanks a lot.
Sounds good. Thanks, Bill.
We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
It's like
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Broderick Enquirer, back here with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Kimber at the St. Phil Fighting Tigers. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Bill.
We had St. Phil playing a couple of fun games this week, and you had in the middle of all that, you had a career milestone for one of your players, so a lot to talk about. First, we'll talk about the Athens game, and you guys went over to Athens on Tuesday and found yourself in a little bit of a tussle, and but came away with a big fourth quarter and won 73-60, and Athens kind of gave you what you wanted there a little bit.
Yeah, no, Athens gave us a great test. Dylan Juergens, coach over there, he does a great job, and his boys were definitely ready to fight that night. We had I thought a poor night on the defensive end of things, and they really took advantage of it. So credit to them. We're still dealing with some growing pains and some learning curves with putting in the new defense that we're playing, and so we're close. But it definitely on Tuesday night definitely showed that there's still some holes that need to be fixed.
Yeah, Athens actually had the lead in that game, up 15-12. You guys went on a little bit spurt in the second quarter to get a lead after that, but then it went back and forth, and it was still tied 48-48 going into the fourth quarter. But you had that 15-4 run in the final period, getting some good play all around. But it took a little while for you, like you said, to come together. They were, like you said, that defense that you guys are putting in is still a work in progress. They were kind of beating you on the back door a little bit there, and I know that was frustrating from a coaching aspect because you kept pointing that out, and then they kept still coming through with that little Princeton offense maybe for them.
Yeah, we had. I think every single time out I called that game, it was just stop giving up the backdoor cut because they ran a little blind pig action with the high post entry and then a backdoor cut on the same side wing, and we just kept getting burned off of it, and so that was frustrating, but it was an adjustment that the kids, it's glad we got the win. Kind of almost glad it happened because now the kids know exactly how to play that, because we definitely went over that for about an hour on film the next day. Thursday, 2 days after that. And I think we only gave up one back cut last night. So there was a bit of that we harped about that one.
Well, Athens is a real physical game, and you were able to foul out 4 Athens players, and they're a limited team on the roster, so that really helped you going late. So that's kind of why you were able to pull away. Mm-hmm. Aiden Lane had 26 points for Athens, 12 points from Baron Vosberg, and 10 points from Silence Hall. On your side, you had Carter Diswick, who was within reach of 1,000 career points, and he needed 36 points to get 1,000, and he got 34. So he got right there on the edge and got real close, get 998. And he told me afterwards that once he got that and you guys had the big lead, he kind of shut it down. So 34 points and getting down to 998. That's still a fun night, a fun game to talk about, and putting Carter Diswick on the precipice there had to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it definitely was. He made some tough shots, made a lot of shots that night. 3-point wasn't working for him that well that night. But yeah, no, it was definitely great setting him up for Friday with a low point total to get that, so it wasn't so much in his head.
Yeah, Jackson Diswick had 15 points against Athens, and Lincoln Diswick had 11, and that did set you up for last night, Friday night game against one of your other rivals, Calvin Christian, and the story of the game right from the start was Carter needed one basket to get to 1,000, and then you could take care of that, and then focus on the game after that. He hit a layup early on and get that 1,000 points, and then you're able to focus on the game. And it was a great moment for him, but it was also important to get that out of the way and get St. Phil looking at the Cougars that way, right?
Definitely. I think just getting it out of the way early definitely was an easy way for him to put it behind him. Because when we had Connor Goslin a few years back, when he was going for the scoring record, it took Connor about 3 quarters, maybe two quarters to get the 6 points that he needed. I mean, he was a 20-plus scorer game, and he definitely you could definitely tell it was hurting him then. And so I was glad Carter was able to get it out of the way quick, and so he didn't have that lingering in his head for long.
St. Phil came out with a 61-46 win over a Calhoun Christian team that was 6-2 coming in, so they had been putting some good wins together. And but you're able to tell us how that game kind of went once you got that figured out and you got the game going in your direction. What was happening for you out there that was going well for the Tigers?
Yeah, Calhoun Christian, they scrapped, they played hard. They played really hard. They gave us a good test. Early on, we weren't necessarily. I wouldn't say we weren't in sync in the first quarter on defense. I think it just took a second to wake up, and unfortunately, that they had 6 or 8 points by the time we woke up, and it was still a tight game. And then we were able to extend that. We were able to get the lead and then extend it out to the double-digit range, and we just floated it around the 8 to. I think we actually got up to 20, but we were able to extend it and just kind of floated around there. I think our boys were doing a great job jumping some passing lanes. So we did a good job of taking some calculated attempts on the passing lanes, and then it was actually pretty neat. Carter got his 1,000 points, but the funny thing is he's the first triplet to get a dunk down in game. I didn't think it would be him to get the first one down between the 3 of them. All 3 of them can dunk, but Carter got the first one down in game, and I know he's got that bragging rights at home. So that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I'm sure he's riding a little adrenaline high there. 1,000 points. The crowd got behind him and get a breakaway and throw down a dunk. That's got to be a lot of fun. He had finished with 20 points in the win, and it was a game for him to remember for sure. He joins his brother Jackson, who hit 1,000 points last year. They got a cousin, Addie Diswick, who had 1,000 points if you count her middle school points, but if you just count her varsity high school level points, she's still coming close to 1,000. She's about 30 away. She's going to probably do that next week. So it's a big week for that family there. Lincoln had 19 points for you. Jackson Diswick had 18, and you guys improved to 7-4 and moving forward. And Kyle DeVisser had 21 points for Calhoun Christian, and they dropped to 6-4. But talk about 7-4 at this point. Not exactly where you want to be, but a couple of wins this week get you head in the right direction. It's got to feel good, that momentum that you're riding a little bit right now, right?
Definitely. I mean, but not exactly where we want to be at. I think there's only, I think 2 of those losses should have been, flipped the other way around. We just didn't close the door. But we're trending in the right direction. We have a tough week this week with Broderick and Colin on a back-to-back. But definitely getting some momentum going into that is big. I mean, the defense, you can definitely tell it's getting there. It's not 100% there. And then on the offensive end, you can definitely tell the chemistry from, we have a group of 3 seniors, a junior, and then a bunch of freshmen. The chemistry is starting to click. And so I'm telling you, we're close to getting it to fully click. It's just I apologize to the opponent that it's going to happen to when it fully clicks, because it's going to be a beautiful thing.
All right. You're seeing Colin for a second time. Is that also Burr Oak a second time for you this time?
No, so this will be our first play against somebody in a division, and then Colin starts our second time around with everybody. And so, like Coach Bowling was saying in his previous interview, it's kind of adjustment time. Felt like we should have got Colin the first time around, and we're going to make some adjustments and hopefully get it done at their place.
That'll be a lot of fun to talk about. Big week for St. Phil, Burr Oak, and Colin, and that Colin game is important to try to get some headway in the division. You won the division last year, and you want to defend your title. You have to knock some people off and then get some help. So Big week for the Tigers, and we'll look forward to talking about that next week, Coach.
Sounds good, Bill. Thanks.
We're back with our next Coach of the Morning after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back here on Coach's Corner with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Steve Wickman of the Lakeview Spartans. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Bill.
Lakeview had a full week of games this week in the SMAC, and started out on Tuesday, Portage Northern, falling to Portage Northern 60-48. Portage Northern's a real good team this year. They're 7-3 after that game, and they gave you all you can handle. What kind of things did they do that gave you guys trouble that night?
Well, they scored more than we did. That gave me trouble.
That should have been the headline.
Yeah, that's just should be the headline. They have a couple really good players, and we just didn't really have good matchups with either of them. The one guard that they have is, well, they're both guards, I guess, but and one's about 6'3", 6'4", the other one's 6'4", 6'5", and we just don't have guards that are that big, that can handle that kind of stuff. So those two kids hurt us. I think I figured out 38 of their 60 points between the two of them. So, well over half with two. And so you kind of feel like you got beat by two guys that night, and that's kind of it's unfortunate, but it is what it is at that point.
Landon Gordon had 14 points for you guys. Owen Davis had 12. Nolan Porter had 10. And was that game close at halftime, or where were we at when it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a close game the whole way. I think, I think you know how games in the end get stretched out a little bit. I think it was probably between 6 and 10 type game the whole night. And I think you mentioned Landon. That's probably the best game of his life so far. Hopefully he'll continue to get better and have some more games like that. But he's really coming into his own and playing really, really well on the defensive end and getting steals and turning those into layups. And he's kind of become he has become a leader on our defense and a leader on our team. So I'm really proud of him, really happy for him, because he didn't play a whole lot of minutes last year, and he's kind of taken his opportunity and run with it. So I'm happy for him.
So that set up last night, rivalry game that everyone kind of looks forward to. You had Battle Creek Central at your place, a nice crowd, and like you were saying, you get the people hanging up on the balcony there, running around on the track there, and looking over the railings. And when you get that kind of game, it makes for a lot of fun. And Battle Creek Central came out on top, 54-45. But that game was tighter than that score would indicate most of the time. It was a scrappy game, really physical, a lot of fouls called, a lot of hard to get your shot off in that game, and in terms of hard to get for both teams, hard to get any offense going really for both teams, because the officials were letting everybody play and then being physical, and hard also to get a little rhythm in that game, because you weren't getting like couple baskets in a row, and neither team was. So talk about when you're in that kind of game, what you kind of have to do to.
Yeah, it was kind of herky jerky. I mean, there never was a whole lot of flow to the game, and I felt like we got sped up too much by Battle Creek. I thought that they didn't do anything special to us. They didn't. It was a 2-2-1 3/4 court press, and it was man defense or zone defense. So nothing special, nothing we haven't seen. But I thought their intensity level was a little bit higher than ours in the first half, and that's kind of where they got their 6-8 point lead. And we had numerous opportunities to try to come. We got down to 4 at one point and had the ball and missed a layup. And, you start getting into some of those situations where you have opportunities that you don't cash in on, and, you're only going to get so many opportunities. But at the same time, if you take advantage of those opportunities and get the game down to 2 or tied, now you're playing a completely different game, right? And you're playing against some young kids who might not handle the pressure quite as well. But we just couldn't make that basket or get that stop or whatever we needed. And a lot of it was just not getting it done. I mean, you can't in that kind of a game. If you're missing layups, then you're going to get what you deserve.
Yeah, Central went up early 16-11, and like you said, they led at halftime 28-21. They had another surge to start the second half, went up 37-25, and looked like they could maybe run away with it. But you guys came back, and that point that you mentioned, Lakeview cut the lead to 41-37 with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and you're looking to put some pressure on them a little bit. And you had two fast breaks back-to-back. They were contested layups coming up there, but they didn't go down, and you didn't get the foul calls on either one of them. So Central was able to withstand that comeback, and you were never able to get any closer. But I could tell from the sideline, you're kind of looking at it saying, we just need something like that to happen to get there. And it's so frustrating for you that you had done enough maybe to get close, yeah, but just couldn't get over the hump, right?
Yeah, well, so one of the layups you're talking about, I mean, we broke the press beautifully, threw the ball to an unguarded man, and he just turned around and rushed it and didn't make the layup. And, that's I mean, he was not contested, and so but he's young too, and he'll learn. I think he'll probably make the next one. But in that situation, he's got to just slow down, take his time, make the layup. And again, so we make that layup. Maybe maybe that puts a little more pressure on them, makes it a different game. But I was really pleased with the way we fought, and even when we got down 12, like you said, it could have been lights out, but we, Central had tons of fouls, and so we knew every time we went into the lane, we were getting fouled. And so our guys did a great job of listening and adjusting, and we scored a lot of points, or at least we had a lot of opportunities to score points at the foul line. I'm not sure that we made as many as we'd like. I know we didn't, but see, we shot 27 free throws, and Central shot 35. So both teams had a lot of time at the foul line, and I would imagine Durant will probably spend some time like we will on Monday just doing more free throws. If anybody out there has a free throw trick, let me know, man, because we're trying everything to try to get our team up over the hump on the free throw situation.
Owen Davis had 12 points for you. Isaiah McFerrin chipped in with 8 points, the balanced scoring for you in that case, and you guys followed a 3-9 on the season overall, and you try to turn the page. And you have some games coming up this week. Let's talk about who you got going next and what's up for the Spartans.
Tuesday we take the short trip over to Lakeshore. Nice fun trip. And then Friday I think we go to Norix. So both SMAC games, obviously. The trip to Lakeshore is always interesting when you go down there. You never know what kind of weather you might get or what kind of whatever. And we know Lakeshore. I think I know we can compete with them. And I think we have an opportunity on Tuesday to go down if we play well, maybe steal one on the road. And then Friday with Norix, I think they're kind of, between them and Kalamazoo Central, are the cream of the crop in our league. So that'll also be obviously a tough game.
Yeah, those long road trips in the middle of winter on a Tuesday night, that's you don't want to thank the schedule maker for those kind of games. That's tough for Lakeview and tough for those kids, right?
Yeah, it is tough because you'd like to do that on a Friday if you could, but right. You deal with the hands you're dealt or play the cards you're dealt or whatever. I think just being on that bus and going all the way, and then you factor in the fact that there's weather, perhaps. There's always weather at the Lakeshore, so hopefully we'll make it down there and make it back safe, and we can go down and play well.
You'll have plenty of time to eat Schlotzsky's on the way back. You'll have plenty of time for that hour and a half drive coming back. And to get their sandwich and their cookie figured out. Get your
sandwich and your cookie or whatever it is. You'll have plenty of time for sure.
All right, I appreciate Coach coming in, and we'll look forward to maybe getting that win over Lakeshore next week and a tough game against Loy Norix, and we'll talk about that next Saturday when we get back together.
All right, Bill. Thank you.
That's it for Coach Corner with Coach Wickman. We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning after this on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Thanks. Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back here with our next coach of the morning, Coach Durant Crum of the Battle Creek Central Bearcats. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Bill.
Battle Creek Central had a couple games in conference play this week. Started out with Portage Central on Tuesday. It's a good Portage Central team, over 500, and they came away with a 70-59 win. Portage Central hit 9 triples in that game in that win. They were hot from the outside. That gave you guys a little bit of trouble there, right? Is that right?
Yeah, they really shot the ball well that night, and not just one or two of them. I think they probably had 5 different guys that made a three-point shot for a total of 9 for the game. So, yeah, when you're getting 2 versus 3, 3's going to always end up on the top side. So, but it was a good game. Our guys played pretty well. I think we were down by 10 at halftime and ended up losing by 11. So we played them pretty close the second half. We just got off to a little slow start.
Well, what was happening in that first half for you guys? They jump out on you early, and you guys didn't react to what they were doing early, or your kids kind of goes cold from the field a little bit, or what was
I think we just maybe not quite ready when the ball went up. We just got off to a slow start. Didn't make shots early, and they came out of the gates blazing. Yeah.
Well, what's good about your team this year is that you guys have been in games and been winning games this year, so they knew that they weren't out of it and playing well in the second half to keep you in the game. And do you feel like that's part of that you guys are gaining some confidence, and even though it's a loss, that you stayed in that game longer than you might have maybe even last year?
Yeah, well, I think right now we're fighting. We're not caving in. We're not giving up, and that's good to see out of a young bunch. You would think that they could get easily discouraged, but they're hanging in there. They're fighting hard. They're not giving up. So we're giving ourselves a chance in most games.
Yep. Lee Campbell Jr. had 23 points for the Bearcats, and that set up Friday night, where it's always a fun game for everyone to watch there. You went over to Lakeview, a city rivalry game, and the crowd was pretty nice. Boy-girl doubleheader. The girls got things started, and the boys came in after that, and it was good atmosphere. And the biggest takeaway from your standpoint is that you came away with a win, a 54-45 win over Lakeview, something that didn't happen last year. Lakeview swept you last year during a season where you kind of struggled for victories, and getting that win against Lakeview was a nice feeling to have after last year. Is that right?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's a city rival, long-lasting, always a good opportunity to go out and compete. And like you said, last year we weren't able to walk off of the court after playing them with the numbers in our favor. So it was good this year to be able to go out there and win.
Yeah, last year you're 4-15 on the year. You're already 6 wins this year with that victory last night, and you're doing that, like we said a couple of times already, that a young group, 2 freshmen, 2 sophomores starting most games, and that group is playing with a lot of confidence, and you showed early. You guys got up early, 16-11, up 28-21 at halftime. And then a little bit of a surge to start the second half. You're up 37-25, and things are going real good at that point. Talk about that start for Central and what was happening early for you.
Well, the guys were eager to come on and play last night. And so we had talked about the slow start that we had on Tuesday night, so we wanted to make sure we were ready to play when the ball went up last night. So they came out, focused and energized, and it worked for us last night. That I think was the biggest thing that I could say about the start. But it's a game that they look forward to all year, and thank goodness we were ready to play.
It's kind of a grinding game, also. Real physical on both sides. Not a lot of open air to get through. Not a lot of uncontested drives. Both teams were kind of going at it, and the officials were kind of letting both teams play. And talk about that kind of game where the points are hard to come by and fouls are hard to come by, and the physical nature of that kind of game. Your kids like that kind of game, or you just look at the kind of game and kind of adapt how it's going that night?
Yeah, well, it definitely was a battle. Sometimes I say not a party. We're not going to a party. We're going to a battle, and we have to be prepared to go out and fight if we want to win. And I think the guys, they were ready. They wanted it, and for the most part, they played like it.
After you had that lead, double-digit lead in the third quarter, Lakeview kind of came back, and they cut it to 4 points, 41-37, with 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And to your team's credit, they held their composure, kept things going, and kept their heads, and stayed on top. How important was that little point of the game, not letting Lakeview get any closer, and then you guys reacting to their surge?
Yeah, well, we knew that it wasn't over when we had the 9-point lead, the 7-point leads. We knew that they weren't going to quit fighting. So it was good for us to be able to withstand their surges because the game is a game of runs, and we knew they were going to continue to fight. They weren't going to give up, and we could expect that they were going to make some runs at us. We talked about being strong, closing out the game, taking care of the ball, playing smart, and I think the guys did a pretty good job last night.
Lee Campbell was a sophomore for you, led you with 15 points. Freshman Aaron Williams Jr. had 11. Freshman Braylon McCoy had 10, and that's you're looking down at that lineup and seeing those underclassmen getting the job done. That says the future is bright for the Bearcats, and they're getting a lot of minutes and a lot of varsity time, and at the same time they're getting wins. And that's what we're kind of talking about with the Bearcats this year. Learning as you go, getting varsity minutes for the first time, but getting victories at the same time. How important has that been for you guys?
Well, it's paying off right now, Bill. I mean, the guys are learning. We're talking about getting better, by the day. But it's real encouraging right now to see that we're able to experience, through all of the growing pains, we're able to experience some success and some wins. So it's a pretty good feel, yeah.
So that sets up for a big week next week. Let's talk about who you got going next week. Who's on the schedule there for the Bearcats?
Ooh, I don't know that I looked that far down the road. Try to take a day at a time.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we may have Gull Lake, I think, next week.
No, that's right. You do have Gull Lake on Tuesday. I remember that because we're going to take a peek at that game. You guys got them at your place, and then St. Joe after that on the road. Gull Lake's an interesting team. It's a team that you never know what they're going to have. They have some good athletes, and like you said, you haven't looked too far ahead. But that's another win you want to get because it's a chance to continue this momentum that you have, and coming off the Lakeview win, and you get Gull Lake at your place.
Right. Yep. We're going to start prepping for that game today.
And then, like you said, St. Joe on the road. After that, those road games that go to the west coast of Michigan, those can be tough for the kids. Talk about how you prepare for some of those games. Make sure the kids are in the right mindset when you go to Lake Michigan. Well,
it's always tough. It's always tough at St. Joe and Lakeshore, and I mean, not just it's a long trip, which sometimes wears on the guys, especially after a long day at school. But we just try to talk about what we have to focus on and what we have to do. Try to relax on the road, maybe take a little nap. But then when we get there, we know that it's a game that we want to win, and we just really have to tap into the things that we do in the gym specific to countering what we're expecting to see from those teams. So we try to keep it as basic as we can, but I think the long trip more than anything else it probably has an effect on us in a way that it's not always good.
Yeah, it's true. That's life in the SMAC, I guess, for a lot of teams going here or coming into town. But we'll talk about those games next week when we get back together. Coach, thanks for coming in. And we'll talk next week when we get back together in Coach's Corner.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
We'll talk about next week when we get there. While we still have a minute here, let's talk about the schedule for next week for all our city teams. Like we said, Battle Creek Central is going to be playing home at Gull Lake on Tuesday. Then they go on the road and play at St. Joe on Friday. We're going down and seeing St. Phil, Harbor Creek has games in the Interstate 8 Conference on Friday against Jackson Northwest. They're playing out of conference on Tuesday on the road at Lake Odessa Lakewood, so that'll be 2 road games for the Beavers to get them rolling to see if they can get back on the winning side. Lakeview, this is like we said when we were talking to Coach Wickman, is on the road twice next week. A couple tough games in the SMAC. They're playing at Stevensville Lakeshore on Tuesday, Tuesday night game, going all the way to the Lakeshore. I don't know, but school night is always tough, but then they have a tough game at Loy Norris, one of the better teams in the SMAC, on Friday on the road. Penfield, that reminds you, is playing today on a back-to-back. They're playing a 2:30 game at home against Springport, another non-conference game, a game that kind of challenged the Panthers to see where they are, where they kind of stand. They had that game last night against Adrian, do the same thing. Then they come right back and play in Centerville on Tuesday. So it's 3 games in a matter of 4 days. It'll be a tough challenge for the Panthers, but they're at home for all of them. So they got that going. And then, like we mentioned, St. Phil is playing Burr Oak and at Colin next week in the league there. So a lot to talk about next week when we get back together on Coach's Corner. We'll all chat next Saturday when we get back together. This is Bill Broderick of the Battle Creek Enquirer. This has been Coach's Corner on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams Winter Sale and get 30% off paints and stains January 9th through the 19th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.